Hey, this is We Called It. Thanks for coming in. We've been away for a minute, been kind of busy in our own lives, but we are back to give you all the advice you need before the fantasy football and regular football season starts. We're going to be covering fantasy drafting this week. We're going to be going through rounds and giving you who we like and who we don't like. Uh, and with me is Dr. Kenneth Call. How's it going, Ken?
Hey Phil, just excited. Fantasy draft season's upon us, and every single time you go in, think you're ready, and then all of a sudden you get real nervous for draft picks as your picks coming up 2 picks away, watching names fall off the board. Don't worry, after watching this, you'll be good to go.
Yeah, nothing is worse than getting the player you want sniped right before you're about to take him, and then there's nothing there besides garbage to take. But this is why you listen to us, so you can know who to grab anyway. All right. Before we get started, just a reminder: at 100 subscribers, we will be doing a JJ Watt rookie card giveaway.
Whoa, what's
So
this?
100
That guy right
subscribers,
there.
there he is. Looks beautiful. $100 value. Great, great odds for everyone to win. So please subscribe, tell your friends, share our links. Get you can wait till after your fantasy draft though, since you want to win that. But and then lastly, I just want to remind everyone the best part of the fantasy season is the fantasy draft because your team is always undefeated, guaranteed at that point. So everyone's the happiest and most optimistic at that point. With that said, here we go. Ken, we're going to start off with round one. Is there anyone, that you are extremely higher on than usual? Because these are all round one picks. If they are not home runs, then your team probably already lost.
I don't think. I mean, round one, you don't really lose in round one unless the player gets hurt. And can you go? I mean, sure, but uh, the one player that I like later in the round that if he started to scoot up here, maybe I'm a homer bias here, but Nicholas Chubb, that man gets a whole name because he deserves respect. I will tell you, he now first off, Browns getting better. I expect that offense to explode. I expect Deshaun Watson to be closer to what he should have been 2 years ago. But uh, before Deshaun Watson came in last year, Nick Chubb was the RB1. Now, yes, it's certainly going to be more of a pass focus, but I think that's going to open up running lanes, and that's all Nick Chubb needs. Expect big plays, expect them often. Also, there's no third down running back. It is Nick Chubb. I do not believe in Jerome Ford. I do not believe in Demetri Felton. I don't believe in anyone else they will put out there. So I loved Kareem Hunt. He's not there anymore. It is all Nick Chubb all day in a potentially much better offense.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of value to Nick Chubb last year, and the Browns definitely um, what's it called? Exceeded expectations. I had him on my list of players I want in the first round, at that back end if all the top receivers go. But the Browns should have a much better offense with Deshaun Watson, actually not coming off of 2 years and not playing football and a second year in the system without being suspended for weeks and not playing with the first team as much. So huge high on Nick Chubb. In terms of don'ts, I don't have any advice. If you take anyone in this first round, they better be successful. So like
Um,
they're top of the line for the reason.
the only thing I will say on don'ts, not that Travis Kelsey is a do not, but if you draft Travis Kelsey and you draft him, mid first, you need to get a wide receiver second, if not absolutely in the third. Of the top 8 receivers last year, 7 of them were drafted in the top 10. It's just a little it's an easier expectation, but if you go in and you draft Travis Kelsey and maybe a running back, maybe Josh Allen falls to you in the third, something like that, and you're like all excited. You will not like your team and your wide receivers if you start off drafting in the fourth.
Absolutely. You cannot, if you get a tight end early, you can also not get a quarterback because your team just lose. Like you can't have, a low end RB2 and a mid wide receiver one a lot to compete. You got to have higher end players at those points. Now for round two, I do have someone I don't want, and you might disagree, but it's Derrick Henry. I think my biggest fear here is that if I'm drafting an RB this high, I need him to be a home run, like my hero to the team. And there's an easy way out where Tennessee punts on the year. They start resting players. They start taking a look at their younger guys. And I think it's Tajay Spears. He looked really good in the preseason last week. I could see him vulturing some carries as they prepare for life after Derrick Henry in the following years. So I'm very scared of Derrick Henry in the second round.
I will say he's one of those players that I love because, when you start doing mock drafts way too early, you could get Derrick Henry in the third round. And man, that is crazy value. But if he's sneaking up, he's almost in the first round here. I don't hate him, but I don't see a lot of teams of mine with him on there. Who do you like from this round?
All right. So anyone you like in this round? Yeah.
Uh, going
If there's no one, we can move on.
I mean, once again, really hard to go wrong with this. This is a round where almost certainly I'm going to end up getting receivers. Um, Ramondre Stevenson is a back that I do love. I don't know if Connor's changed that since he initially started. After seeing that pick of Zeke, I sent Phil that picture of him starting with. I am not scared of Zeke. He might take some goal line carries, but what Ramondre Stevenson did last year with Damian Harris, and yes, the 2022 version of Damian Harris is better than the 2023 version of Zeke. Ramondre is king in that backfield. They actually have an offensive coordinator this year. I think their offense is only going to get better, but once again, it'll open up things for Ramondre. I like this. Not a huge fan of the offense overall in general, but I'm certainly a huge fan of Ramondre Stevenson this year.
Yeah, I'm with you. I am not scared of Zeke. I think he might vulture some touchdowns, but that's life. As a fantasy player, could have been a tight end vulturing touchdowns instead of Zeke. So it is what it is. But I still think Ramondre is the centerpiece of what should be a run first offense. Now, someone else I don't want in this round, we're just going to keep trashing RBs, is JT. He's allegedly coming back this week, but I am just not trusting a guy who was not there taking snaps to begin the year. I'm guessing they will want to play through him thanks to Anthony Richardson. But I am just not trusting the commitment and the health of JT. This is a guy who definitely I could see, a slight bruise turning into missing 2 weeks because he wants his money. So I am just fading JT for, contract reasons really at this point.
I completely agree, and I will stress it is only contract reasons. I love Jonathan Taylor as a player. I really think that that's the best thing they could do for their young quarterback is get him out there. But at the same time, clearly there's just some distaste there. Jim Irsay and is just the worst owner to have in this situation. He just talks when he shouldn't. He is not giving people money. He's not going to trade them. I'm sorry. It's all a sticky situation. It's all outside of the football field.
Yeah, I am. There is no one better at isolating their best players than Jim Irsay. That is for sure. Um, and now someone I do want, and I drafted him in our family league for a reason. Even though I had Tyreek Hill, it's Jalen Waddle. I don't think I could see Tua throwing for 4,000 yards and 3,500 going to Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle. I mean, that's pretty much what they did last year, and they were phenomenal. Jalen Waddle has huge upside to win you any week on his own. If he was a first round pick, I would never touch him, even though he could get 1,500 yards and 10 touchdowns. And that's just because his floor could be bottoming out. However, when you get a first round pick and you pair him with him, then you get unlimited upside with some downside, but good thing you have your first round pick to come in and save the day and give you that high floor week to week.
Mm-hmm. One other person just to mention, and once again, his stock is creeping up here. I like him early in the third, not so much like late in the second, but Chris Olave. Uh, when you talk about breakouts, especially at wide receiver position, you start at the second year ones. Sometime, third years can break out as well. But everything from the camp reports say that him and Derek Carr are getting along great. When Jameis Winston was in, who certainly threw the ball a little deeper than Andy Dalton last year. I mean, Chris Olave was a stud to start the year. So hopefully, now Derek Carr is a good deep ball passer. Asked Devontae Adams last year, and he had a good one to compare to. But if that connection stays strong, I do not fear Michael Thomas is going to steal anything, or at least for a long period. Overall, I like New Orleans offense in general, but Chris Olave, he could be a guy that, you know, we're talking about with like the CD Lambs and the Stefan Diggs next year, you know, going jumping up a tier.
All right, a couple guys. This is just the last two. I won't go give details on them, but Josh Jacobs and Najee Harris are two guys I am finding on none of my teams. I have done some best ball drafts, and they just are people that fall through the cracks. Take that for what it's worth. Now, the last guy that I have to mention in this grouping is going to be Jameer Gibbs. Yes, I know we trashed him and the Lions for drafting him at the point they did. However, fantasy football is different than real football. Just because I don't take a running back with my first pick, you know, 13th overall pick in the NFL draft doesn't mean I don't want him high in a fantasy football draft. The guy is said to be getting all these targets. PPR especially is where you want him. If you're in standard, maybe fade him till the fourth or fifth round. But Jameer Gibbs, he is going to be working in a lot in the passing game. I think there was a stat. Craig Reynolds had 8 targets in the first half of the Lions preseason game. And that just goes to show you how they're scheming this offense going into the year. And remember, this receiving core is currently suspended because they were all gambling. So I'm happy to take Jameer Gibbs so that getting those extra targets early in the year. What do you think about Gibbs?
I agree. Remember, I had the Detroit passing offense much higher up than you guys when we were ranking, and that was because I count Jameer Gibbs as a receiving option. Um, you know, the real question is how often do these, you know, receiving backs get work? It sounds like they're making the exception to get him out there. You know, DeAndre Swift, what he did last year when he was available, I mean, that is a very, very good comparison. You keep hearing that he is Alva Kamara, but young in Detroit. And man, I got to tell you, nobody loved a young Alvin Kamara more than me. Just electric with the ball. If we get that again, all the more reason to be excited about the Detroit Lions offense.
Yeah, I think the big thing too is people are worried. David Montgomery came in, is making $20 million. But the thing is, Kamara, I think he only had like less than 200 rushes his rookie season when he was a top 5 RB alongside Mark Ingram. So just a reminder that how much more valuable a target is than a carry. And like I said, PPR that could be huge, huge, huge value. All right,
Mm-hmm.
let's get out of these top 3 rounds and start to get to the point where you start to win your league a little bit more. Rounds four,
Real
five,
quick,
and six,
just
when you can get high end value. Go ahead.
one other guy I want to mention. Sorry, a lot of running backs right now,
Oh,
but
yeah.
Joe Mixon, he he avoided all sorts of suspension even in the future. It looks like he decides that, guys, I will take a pay cut, burn me into the ground this year. Don't even get me a backup. Chase Brown, 6th round draft pick. Sure, sounds great, but he is on a high-powered elite offense. He is the only running back getting carries, and he catches the ball. Yes, the question is he's not as explosive as he was before. I doubt you're going to see 70-yard touchdowns from him, but at the same time, he is a good, certainly above average running back in a fantastic situation. Always been an injury concern, but getting him, mid third, that's a steal.
Absolutely. I forgot to mention him. Yeah, he's definitely a guy that has hero RB potential if you grab 2 wide receiver 1s, 2 high end wide receivers to start. All right, now back to what I was saying. Rounds 4 to 6 is where you win your league because when you can get value of a second round pick in the fourth to fifth or sixth rounds, and these are the guys with the opportunities to do so right off the bat. You know, league winners are really 10th rounders when you get lucky because they take over at starting running back. But here is where you can get huge, huge, huge value regardless. And my number one is right on the border of these 2 rounds, the third and the fourth. That's Amari Cooper. I've been high on the Browns at, all offseason saying this is the team that's going to come out and they're going to challenge the Bengals for the division. I've said Deshaun Watson's going to bounce back. And if he does, that means Amari Cooper is going to be a 1,500-yard receiver. So I am very, very high on Amari Cooper. He is a guy I see falling onto my teams frequently. So I am huge. Amari Cooper all the way. Let's go Browns.
He will not be able to get any touchdowns because Nick Chubb will be getting them all. Sorry. Uh, no, I completely
1,500 yards is good enough.
No, I like Amari Cooper as well. I'll be honest, I'm not as big a fan of any other receiver in the Brown system, but Amari Cooper looked good last year. It sounds like Deshaun likes him. Elijah Moore, sure, but I don't think he's breaking into what Amari Cooper is going to do. Unfortunately, so in this fourth round,
Anyone you like in this frat?
well, the fourth round, I think we got to start with the
It
dislikes.
could be just people you hate. Anyone of note?
In our draft, in our family league, I completely skipped the fourth round to get Alexander Madison, who technically is in the fourth round at the very, very, very end. Um, but
Yeah.
I like Aaron Jones. I don't absolutely love him. Lamar Jackson, he just hasn't been there at the end of the year when you need him. He'll get you tons of points when he's around, but when he gets hurt now, when he gets soft tissue injuries, when he gets the ankle sprains, he's out the entire time because he's like, listen, that's my money. I need to be as mobile as possible. Um, but so of the top tier quarterbacks, I prefer going with a different one besides Lamar. Debo, he's the guy who I want to love. I want to love him so much. Great football player. Unfortunately, there's just too many weapons, and I think he's more of an odd man out. He's the jack of all trades type on that offense, but you got Ayuk, who's a great receiver. You got McCaffrey, and I think Debo's going to be more of a flex play this year. Unfortunately, uh, Brees Hall coming off an injury, and Dalvin Cook, I'm not trusting him. Miles Sanders, I don't trust that offense. I know everybody loves Miles Sanders this year. I am not part of that. The people I like at this one are in the back of the round: Jerry Judy and Alexander Madison.
Yeah, so I'm with you on that. Miles Sanders is a guy I liked coming in, and I think he pulled his groin recently. And of course, soft tissue injuries are never, ever a running back's friend. Just flaring up every now and then, missing random weeks always hurts. Game time decisions that come back to bite you in the butt. Brees Hall is the guy I had flag as a don't, and that's obvious. He was on the pup a week ago, and now they have a $9 million running back alongside him. Michael Carter was already a guy I thought could eat into his workload, not majorly, but just enough that it's annoying. And now they have another running back for an off behind an offensive line that I think is one of the worst in the league. So I am out on Brees Hall, and then DJ Moore is a guy I see falling onto my teams anymore a lot. So take that for what it is. I won't go into details. I'm just huge on
Mm-hmm.
him as the number one in
So
Chicago.
one other
All right,
guy I just have to
go
mention,
ahead.
Kenneth Walker. So he is the type of guy where I could see him at the end of the year being the guy who's not getting receiving and not getting goal line targets, and essentially giving away to Zach Charbonnet, which essentially means plummets his value. Or I could see him being exactly where he was last year as a closer to like a top 10, a back end top 10 running back week in, week out, and being like, wow, I missed it. If you're on that Kenneth Walker bandwagon, you just think he's that much better. Awesome. He is a good explosive player. I just think that Zach Charbonnet just does everything, that Kenneth Walker's limited in. He was not a good goal line back last year. He's not the get the 6 yard type of guy. And guess what? Pete Carroll loves the 6 yard type of guy. So hard to say. I'm not finding him on my teams, but it's one of those things that if it comes and kicks me at the end of the year, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I'm with you. Ken Walker is that guy. He has such big play potential, but I've seen the charts of success rate versus yards per carry or explosive play rate. And it's like success rate, he is a guy on 1st and 10 who might get -2 yards every time. But on 3rd and 20, he might get an 80-yard touchdown, which it's just something a guy I can't invest in. Um, Heading to round 5, um, I'm just going to start off big guy I like, it, Terry McLaurin. Again, a team I've been on is the Commanders. I think they're underrated. I think Sam Howell is going to come out and be a very, very okay starting quarterback. They have Eric Bieniemy to give them creativity offensively, and I think their defense is going to be just phenomenal. I believe Chase Young didn't go anywhere, which means their defensive front is the meanest in the league when healthy. So if they can stay that way, it's going to be just imposing its will on people. So Terry McLaurin, though, he's always the guy who has had the awful quarterbacks but still produced 1,100-yard years, just like DJ Moore, another guy. Like I said, I'm grabbing. So that's why I like him. But this is, I believe Sam Howell will be a good enough quarterback to keep that floor high, and I believe the play calling will be much better to create better opportunities, so he can finally break out and maybe only get 1,300 yards, but up that touchdown number. Ken,
Yeah,
anyone you like in round 5?
I got to tell you. So, once in our family league here, I drafted Justin Fields as a steal. I drafted him, I think, early seventh round, and all I did afterwards was regret it. And the truth is I'm just not a believer in Justin Fields. I'm a believer in him as an athlete. He's gonna get his rushing yards, but man, does that scare me as a whole year fantasy player. Going back to this Lamar Jackson thing, where he's like, if he's hurt and he can't run, he's limited. They are, everything out of Chicago is he's looking great. He's actually passing the ball, but the truth is, he was just so far behind as a passer last year. I just don't believe in someone to make that jump. Uh, More and more, um, is he a bad draft pick? No. Do I believe in quarterbacks around him a lot more? Yes. Get at in this, of the Justin Fields and Justin Herberts, I will take Justin Herbert all day. I want some consistency with a guy who I truly believe is an elite passer. Um, Other people I'm finding myself not drafting are DeAndre Hopkins in this group. I really like Chris Godwin. I like Tampa Bay Buccaneers in general, but just as a personal team. But I think that's too rich for my blood. Christian Watson is another one. Just unfortunate. I just don't believe in Jordan Love to be as big a play of a guy. I do like Romeo Dobbs later, but the other people in this group that I do like, I'm on with Terry McLaurin with you. I really like Drake London. I really like Justin Herbert. And when you get a few guys that you like that, you're not getting the people around them.
Yeah. One guy I will say I like is Damian Pierce. I believe last year he was sitting out, not due to true injuries, but due to like we're out of the playoffs and we might as well rest you because we know running backs' lifetime is shorter. Let's not get those carries knocked out of you right away. So Damian Pierce has looked good in the preseason. I think he played like every snap he could with the starters in their latest preseason game. So I think they're going to run him. Nothing like a defensive-minded coach to run their star-looking running back until they cry. So I am all in Damian Pierce. Well, I'm not all in, but if you need a running back, you went zero RB or something, you could do a lot worse than grabbing Damian Pierce, in this 5th round.
Mm-hmm. So
All right, let's head over to the 6th.
right here, as
Oh,
you
go
get
ahead.
into like the fifth and sixth round, like you said with Damian Pierce, then there was Cam Akers, Rashad White. Yeah, there he is. He's around here somewhere. And James Conner. All of those guys are potential 3 down workhorses you're getting way late. So this is another reason where I am going much heavier on wide receiver in the later round or the earlier rounds. Might not be pretty. You might not get all of these like splash plays. They might not be hitting the highlight reels. They might be really boring standard guys for your team, but you hit big with these other receivers, and these guys are not going to let you down at the end of the year. They're as long as they're not riddled with injuries, they'll put up a decent fantasy output just based on being a running back, and running back is based on volume.
All right, so here we are, round 6. Now this to me is a big round because I find myself grabbing people aggressively in the 5th round from this round, and that's just because the number 1 of this list is Mike Williams. I've mentioned, I think you and I had Herbert as our league leading passer when we were talking those odds a month or 2 ago, and Mike Williams is a big reason why. The guy has all the talent to be a wide receiver 1 in a pass heavy offense and just a monster, making big plays, scoring in the red zone, making contested catches, all that great stuff that you look for. The problem is his health. So when I'm grabbing him as my 3rd, maybe 4th wide receiver, I am all for it. I think if he can stay healthy, 9 yards to target in a creative offense with Kellen Moore, I think this guy could just easily, blow up and flip with Keenan Allen and be the guy going in the second round instead of the guy going in the fifth for the Chargers?
So
Who do you
one note I
like?
do want to make right here is everybody find so when I draft, I actually like to have the old school printout of the overall rankings. I have two. One is the rankings. One is the rankings by
You're old.
position. I know, and I have highlighters. I have different color highlighters. Oh man! But I will tell you, system does not fail. But I want you guys to do that. I want you to find Trevor Lawrence. I want you to put a big underline right underneath his name. Trevor. So this year in quarterback, I want to have a high score. I want a set in, forget it guy. I do not want to be going through and every week finding
The
a new,
QB carousel.
yeah, a new waiver wire. No, thank you. It's just that these top tier people are just that much better at this point. And I like Trevor Lawrence. He has a little bit of a rushing game in him too. All the weapons that they did in Jacksonville. I go, listen, if my team starts at quarterback without Trevor Lawrence or up, I do not like it. Now he's the eighth at the your position rank. That's less than six. It's going to be a lower end quarterback. But man, I I think Trevor Lawrence, he's the guy. We're going to be talking about him with Josh Allen and Pat Mahomes next year when we're drafting. I really like that offense. I really like the teams that they're playing in that division. From this one, the trade in our family league, I had Justin Fields, and it all centered around getting Trevor Lawrence. So upgrading at receiver, getting Trevor Lawrence,
You
thought it was a
swapped
huge win.
picks. You swapped like picks to 8, right? That was it. You guys swapped picks to 8 in your in your trade.
I upgraded at receiver, and I got Trevor Lawrence. I saw it as a huge win. Um, so him, I don't
All
like.
right,
Or
so
that's fine.
I was going to say now, so I don't like George Kittle in this round. And I had him his rookie season, and it was the greatest thing ever watching this guy come out of nowhere, light up the league, play every game, and start busting out those man touchdowns where he stiff armed 5 players and then did a backflip over the other 6. However, he is just too frail in a loaded offense, and it is way too high a premium for a player. I think he will win you 2 or 3 weeks with 24-point performances. I don't think he is stable enough to be a week in and week out tight end and that's reliable. That's going to keep you when you pay a premium like this. You want to be getting top 6 tight end production every week, and I don't think he is in a position to give you that. Now, if he's going 2 rounds later and you can get the high upside, that's much better. But like I said, I want a better floor for a guy that I'm putting some extra capital in.
Phil, don't you dare use the word frail to describe the best blocking tight end in the league. He might be one of the best blockers in
Did I say
the
frail?
league.
I probably meant fragile.
You shouldn't say fragile either. The guy is made of stone. Uh, but
Yeah, that's
so
why he's missed like 8 games a year.
So Debo Samuel and George Kittle, everyone do yourselves a favor. Save that game on your NFL ticket. Watch the 49ers. Watch Debo and George Kittle show you how to be real men on the football field, but do not draft them on your fantasy team.
I have Debo in a couple best ball leagues simply because he's like a 4th rounder that I think has the potential to be a top 2 guy or top 2 round guy, and we'll see if he can just
I
pan
really
out.
want him to. I want him
Moving
to
on though.
so bad, but I don't think it's going to happen.
All right, so here we are, round 7. A layup. Javonte Williams is the guy I think we both like. He went in the 5th round in our family league, and I am not the biggest fan of that. That's a little aggressive for me. However, if you can get him here in the 7th, that's phenomenal. That means you have all your other starters, and you're grabbing him as a potential flex or bench player. I think he is going to be a centerpiece to the Broncos offense. Every time Sean Payton was a coach, running backs shined in New Orleans. So, it was they had 2 playable running backs at all times. And this guy, I think, is just going to be the stud leading this offense. Lots of catches, lots of carries. And Broncos are another team I think bounce back. So they're a team I have lots of shares of in best ball.
So my concern is that he is flying up draft boards. And, listen, it's everyone's waiting on this injury.
I
And
would not go higher than the 6th.
I actually like him right where he's at. I would actually be worried. I just like too many people in the six to get him there. But Javante Williams is coming off of a multi-ligament knee injury. Yes. Is he Adrian Peterson? Uh, Now, I've learned my lesson from betting on miracle comebacks from significant injuries, but this one is right under an Achilles for what it does to you. So Javante Williams, the fact that there's a huge difference between being there and showing off. And he is certainly there in practice, which is great. But I strongly feel that although I think Denver will use two running backs. I think it will be as close. It will be 55-45. It will be. We're back to the Javante Williams, Melvin Gordon, love angle that we've had over the last few years. But I really worry about re-injury for him. He's coming back super quick. The From a health standpoint, from a doctor perspective, Samaje Perine is the better bet between number one, having a coach that has always used two running backs, and number two, having that security blanket if Javante gets hurt, Perine can step up. He's done it. He did it last year. He is one of the guys I circle. Get him in the ninth or 10th round this
We'll
year.
get to rounds 10 plus in a minute, but real
I'm
quick,
sorry,
breaking
they're
news.
related.
And by
They're
that I mean
related.
we have a question. Should I trade Eckler and Devontae for Chase and Bijan? Full pot redraft.
Wait, so,
I would rather have Chase and Bijan.
wait, redraft,
Yes.
and it's who's it? Eckler,
I'd rather have Chase and Bijan than Eckler and Devontae.
Devontae.
He's giving away Eckler and Devontae Adams.
Give me Chase and Bijan. I didn't talk about him because he's right next to Chubb, but man, dude, get Bijan. Yes, absolutely.
Very easy. All right. The answer is in the video now, as well as the chat. We can move on back to talking about things that really matter,
Sorry.
like all these players here.
I am not, Javante Williams, sure, here. The other one that I love right now is James Cook. Now, I want to get him before he flies up draft boards too much. But yes, he will probably not get goal line carries, but neither will any of the other running backs in Buffalo. Uh, Josh Allen is still going to do that. But man, James Cook looks explosive. The Buffalo Bills have a good offense, and get outside of Stephon Diggs, they do lack explosive, just straight talent players. I do like Gabe Davis as well. He's just not on that next level. Dalton Kincaid, a good tight end. But I will tell you that James Cook is the second best positional player on that team. I like good players and good offenses. It's that simple. Hopefully, they can get him more, more receptions. But in the seventh round, you're getting a guy who can certainly give you an RB2 floor. I take that every day.
So we always talk about being grabbing players from good offenses because good offenses are more likely to score more, right? Very easy logic. And James Cook is an explosive player on an explosive offense that I think will find good ways to use its players better. So I am just excited because they're going to move away from Josh Allen running the ball at midfield for 10 yards. So I think Cook could be the one to benefit, get extra carries, and when he touches the ball, man, it's explosive. Every play could be a touchdown. So let's see.
Other people here.
Do you have any don'ts? Oh, go ahead.
Other people I really, really like in this group. I mean, this once again is just a good round. Javante, James Cook. I like Dallas Goedert. I try to get him. He's my underlying tight end. He's the Trevor Lawrence of tight ends for me. And Han Dotson. Jordan Edison, I do like as well, more so, flyer. I'd be nervous to start him week one, but Jahan Dotson, everything you said about Washington, except for I think that his cap is 1B to McLaurin. But I think he is certainly better than a wide receiver too. just tons of talent. He looks good. He has a nose for the end zone. I'll take it.
Let's see. People in best ball I always grab DeAndre Swift. I mentioned I like him, and I think he's way too talented. He averaged 5.5 yards a carry. If he can stay on the field, I think he will stand out behind an Eagles offense that made Miles Sanders phenomenal. Kenneth Gainwell's looked good. Boston Scott, Jordan Howard, all those guys played really well in their opportunities last year. And I think DeAndre Swift is a dude that can absolutely light up the field when given the ball and opportunities. So I think he has already established himself as the one, even with a 50% workload of everyone being there. I think it can be a huge, a high floor guy. Unfortunately, the touchdown upside is not there thanks to Jalen Hurts and the double cheek push, absolutely vulturing touchdowns. Um, but then moving on, we have round 8. Here we go. So I have the number one player again with comments, but this time JSN is a guy I am not drafting. That is a loaded team. I think he is a guy that might fall off and be dropped by week 4 in the season because he is not getting the usage that people expected. He is definitely a guy I think that will come on later in the year, whether it's due to an injury to Tyler Lockett or him maturing as a receiver and developing to the game as a rookie. So I do not trust JSN. I like him as a talent. I do not like the situation. It's great for the Seahawks to have so many weapons. It is not great from a fantasy perspective. I think DK Metcalf is currently the only guy locked into a guaranteed role from week 1 through the end of the year.
Well, I agree. I actually picked Jackson Smith-Njigba solely because he was dropping, and man, I'm cheap and I love value, especially in fantasy. He ended up being part of the trade package, and I was really happy about that. I turned him into Jahan Dotson. He was his flip, huge win for me. I feel, um, but I agree. Like the thing is yes, elite talent, rookie receivers can stand out, but there's already tons of talent there in that room. I just don't think he stands out compared to DK. Nobody to DK Metcalf just physically. Um, but no, I agree. I'll hold my breath maybe later on in the career. Not so a year or two later, but um, I'll be happy. I'll be fine missing on him this year. Another guy like that too is Khalil Herbert for me. Like, I do I like him? Yeah. Is he going higher than where I would pick him? Yes. Justin Fields once again is going to get touchdowns there. And they have Donta Foreman, who is just a monster of a running back. He might get some goal line
Well, you
stuff.
are wrong about who their starting running back is. That
Oh,
is, you are wrong about who their starting running back is,
so
and you're going to be shocked by the guy
Rashawn,
I want later on. I'm all in on Rashawn Johnson, 100%.
and he's actually the
He
name
should
I
be
had
in.
of.
He should be a ninth round pick.
That's the guy I will take a flyer on later. Absolutely. Another,
Yep.
I'm so sick of talking about Washington people. We do it a lot here, but Brian
Mm-hmm.
Robinson and Antonio Gibson, neither of those are bad picks right now. Brian Robinson's going to be boring, but I think at the end of the year, his last his healthy 5 games or so, he was on like a 1,400 yard pace or something like that from rushing. Like especially in like a half PPR, uh, you certainly can do way worse. I mean, you can get a flex and be happy with him right there. Antonio Gibson, he's kind of like the flashier name to get because they're talking about him in the passing game. He was a receiver in college. Like he's gonna be good. I don't think you can go wrong. I don't think you pick either of those guys and regret it later on in the year.
All right. I actually have Robinson as a guy I don't want, and it's simply because I'd rather have Gibson at this point, and it's literally just since they're next to each other. I'd rather give me Antonio Gibson, so therefore don't give me Brian Robinson. It's kind of the logic. But however, I don't blame you, like you said. I think he's locked into
He's
a
two
lot
spots
of
higher. Of
carries
course, I want
just from the
Antonio
structure.
Gibson, Phil, but
Much more.
you want
He's an early
vanilla or
round pick,
chocolate
not a
ice
mid
cream?
one.
You're still
Uh,
getting ice cream. It's fine.
um, all right. So someone I have marked as a don't draft I'm moving on to round 9 now. I don't know if there's other people, but it is got to be Rashad Penny. I think he's actually going in the 10th, but yeah, he's right on the border. But Rashad Penny is a guy I do not want. I wanted him earlier in the year because I thought him and DeAndre Swift could compete and share the workload as both being injured on and off. But the reason I don't want him is because it looks like he's falling out of favor with the Eagles. I know he got the largest workload in the most recent preseason game, but I don't think that means too much. I think they're looking at him and saying, you're not providing the burst. Like DeAndre Swift had one carry go for 20 yards and one carry go for 0 yards. And they said, yep, we see exactly what we wanted to out of DeAndre Swift. Electricity, he can make people miss. But Penny, they kept playing him, I think, in hopes that they would see something similar. And since they're not, I think they can go back to what they know, which is Kenneth Gainwell, Boston Scott coming in and taking those roles.
Excellent perception, Phil. Rashad Penny gets a 17-yard carry, and you go, well, it's not 20. It's not a burst. Sorry.
It's not. He can. You can have a run that's blocked for 17 yards, and I think when DeAndre Swift got 20, they're like, dude, you just burned two. You turned a 5 yard carry into a 20 yard carry, and that's why we got you.
I just think that they're not giving Rashad Penny, like we talked about earlier. I think it has a lot more to do with, you know, the Philadelphia Eagles did not play half of a game for most of their games last year. They're playing for end game. They're playing for the playoffs. Rashad Penny, if they give him a boatload of carries, then he's not going to make it that far. I think that they're going to have a very nice rotation of running backs, and I think it's going to be very good for their football team. And I do not think it'll be good for fantasy. With that being said, if DeAndre Swift can get receptions, which people have not been able to, or running backs have not been able to do in Philly, then he'll be totally worth his pick. Besides that, I think Rashad Benny, Boston Scott, Kenneth Gainwell, they are going to be all the same player who are once again not getting rushing touchdowns because of Jalen Hurts.
All right, I have a thought, and I just want to get your take real quick. Daniel Jones. I think he played to his ceiling last year, not because he was a good thrower of the ball, but because of how much value he provided as a runner. And I think the offense pivots to a more pass-centered offense just because, like, it's better. It's a better scheme. It puts your quarterback less at risk. And I think Brian Dable knows that, and he's not going to take a guy that now is $100 million player and put him at risk as much. So that means his number is going to come down from a fantasy perspective. I don't think he's going to get like those easy points from that. And I don't think he's going to make up for it as much as a passer. Uh, is Daniel Jones a guy that you are completely fading?
I'm completely fading him just based off of where he's getting drafted. There's just other more consistent people. If you just look down a little bit, I will take of this group. I will take Geno Smith. I will take Kirk Cousins every time over Daniel Jones because at this point, like my strategy, I'm looking for a backup. I'm not looking for a home run hitter. I want someone who will consistently provide. Now we're talking about the throwers in these high volume offenses. Those are who I want as my backup. Daniel Jones, to me, now I think Dable will do whatever it takes to win. I think he's a winner. If that means Daniel Jones has to run, then I think he's fine with it. But at the same time, that's not what their offense is going for. I do like Darren Waller this year. I just every metric I see about Daniel Jones shows like he's a good quarterback, and I just don't see it. Sorry guys, I just don't.
All right. Anyone else noteworthy to you? I think we've used all mine.
Okay. I
I
guess
got Elijah Moore. Elijah Moore is a guy I like for the Browns. Don't want David Njoku though. Quentin Johnston, another guy I like. I think all Chargers, always a good
Mhm.
pick. If you're building a best ball team and you have all the Chargers players, I think you're in a good position.
Of the people I already talked about Samaje P. Ryan. I talked about Zach Charbonnet a little bit. I like them. Yes, I'm on the Elijah Moore and Quentin Johnston group here. This is once again, it's a good round. I like I like all these people, especially if one of them falls a little bit to me in the next round. Absolutely great. If you want to take your chance on Michael Thomas in a PPR league, sure. I mean, I get it. He's gotten his PPR. He has a nose or last year he at least had a nose for an in the for the end zone. But at the same time, I like Olave better. I am not. I will not be the one placing that bet on Michael Thomas.
Yeah, I'm with you. That I like. If Thomas was around later or earlier, I might take him over those players. But in this position, I'd rather have Zay Flowers, Elijah Moore, Quentin Johnston, and that's just personal preference.
Actually, yeah,
Now let's go on to
that's
the.
a good point,
Go
Phil.
ahead.
Here, Zay Flowers is in
Hmm.
this round too. This is where you bet on rookies. This is where you bet on someone coming out and really just breaking out because rookies are first year, second year receivers, first year running backs. They're doing it earlier than they have been previously. There's the big question of the mystery. We don't know, we haven't seen them do it before, so they do start down here, but you have a lot of first and second round talent right here, and those are the bets that I make. I picked Charbonnet, I picked Jordan Addison, um, big fan of Quentin Johnston. I wish I could have got him too. I'll take guys like that over the Juju's and the Michael Thomases of the world.
All right, let's wrap up. So now to the point that I said, you really win your fantasy leagues. I'm just going to turn it off because I'm not going to deal with scrolling for these players. These are rounds 10 plus and beyond. Um, this is the bottom. Like the bottom line is hitting a home run here is the reason people start out 10-0 in their leagues or something, and it's because they had Kareem Hunt the year he went off. They have Lamar Jackson the year he went off. So just keep that in mind that these are our players we're betting on, but not everyone's going to get lucky. And hopefully, these are the guys that pan out. So I have 4 players listed. I don't know how many you have, but you can start.
I have more than you. You should start.
All right, fine. If that's the way, I'm going to start Rashawn Johnson. I mentioned him earlier. He is already taking first team snaps. He looked good in the preseason. They've said his pass blocking has improved. He is, I think, going to be the guy in a new young offense. They don't want Donta Foreman there. I think they picked him up as insurance. So I think Johnson is the guy they drafted. Johnson is the GM's guy, the coach's guy. So I am all in on the Bears, relying on him in an offense that should rely on an RPO style with him and Justin Fields, which is just going to create more opportunities, whether it's quick hit passes, whether it's on the ground. So I believe Rashawn Johnson will be he's not going to be a superstar. This offense isn't going to change the world. However, he could work his way up to 4th-round pick next year.
All right. A few guys that I like here, and these are the old guys. These are the second year guys that I like. But Jalen Warren and Romeo Doubs. I got to tell you, first off, Jordan Love, he's done absolutely everything you'd expect from him in preseason. This is the same reason why Sam Bradford is not in the Hall of Fame. It's because it doesn't matter what you do in the preseason. But it looks like him and Romeo Doubs have found some sort of a connection. I think that's probably more sustainable than like the big play like Christian Watson. I'd rather have Romeo Doubs in the second last pick of the draft than Christian Watson in the third or fourth. So that's just me. And then Jalen Warren. And this has a little bit to do with the eye test. This has a little bit to do with the fact that I don't believe in Najee, but I think Jalen Warren is working his way more into the 50-50, 60-40 split, but he is just a better running back than Najee Harris. Okay, I know Alabama fans are super mad at me about that one, but I just think that he just looks more explosive out there. Their offense just looked better with him, despite the fact that he faced as many stacked boxes as Najee Harris. I didn't believe that either until I saw it. Man, stats are crazy, Phil. But I like Jalen Warren in the 10th plus round as well.
All right. So now a guy I like is a guy I ended up with. I've ended up with him a lot more than I ever thought I would, and it's Anthony Richardson. I don't know if it's because Colin Cowherd has talked him up, and I saw a YouTube clip of it, but he seems to be the guy that is actually impressing. at his training camps and stuff as a rookie. He is a monster, and I think he's going to have huge rushing upside. The fact that what's his face, Shane Steichen is his offensive coordinator or head coach now. I think is a huge advantage because he made Jalen Hurts pan out very well and came up with great creative rushing opportunities. So I think Richardson is a guy that absolutely can come out and be a huge fantasy asset in the Justin Fields mold. Just because he's not throwing for 30 touchdowns doesn't mean he can't be a top 10 QB. Now he is a guy you will want to pair with a like a good volume thrower to give you some floor, Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, that kind of realm. But I'm absolutely taking flyers on Anthony Richardson. I think he's on most of my teams, honestly.
Yeah, in our family league, I was about to pick him, but also I didn't pick Trevor Lawrence. I had Justin Fields, and I was like, I can't have both of these guys because it's just too much high risk, too much
They're twins.
high reward. Um, but Richardson came out super raw from college. He doesn't have the weapons in Indy. I'm not as like high on him from just like a completing the year. I think it's going to look ugly in Indy for a bit. Yeah, yes, stats might follow, but I just I couldn't bear to watch a game with Josh Richardson, knowing that he's the guy I'm putting everything in on. Yes, I agree. I a few strategies I've done is pairing him with like a Deshaun Watson or a Tua, people who are in like the ninth or 10th round, and I am that is fine. That is an excellent later round pick, but man, makes me nervous.
All right. Who else do you have on your list?
I have some. I actually have some older guys too, but the two that I actually like are Kendra Miller and Devon A. Chain, and I'm lumping them together because they are these, I believe they're both second day draft picks. I think Kendra Miller was all the way in like the third, um, but number one, I love the situations that they're in. Miami's offense is gonna be dangerous. They're just fast, and they're like, we're just gonna keep getting the fastest people we can out there. I do like Jeff Wilson too. He's another name I have. I think he might be, a little more reliable at the beginning of the year. But Devon A. Chain is.
I'm just going to interrupt for 1 second. But any Miami running back is not a wrong answer to me because they're all fast. They're all in. I mean, I don't know about A Chain, but I know Mostert and Wilson are both injury prone. So if you take a gamble on any of them, you might be right at some point in the season. So any of them,
Mhm.
I agree.
But
Take your shots.
yeah, more important than that though. Last year they had value. If you hit right with which one was
Yep.
giving it to you, I mean they were very. I mean very effective backs for fantasy, especially when two is there. So um, Phil's going all blackout on us
I
here.
got my lights. We're good.
Okay, but
We're good.
so Devon A. Chain, Jeff Wilson, I like, but Kendrick Miller, especially, there is a chance that he just shows off when Kamara's not there. I do think that he's more of a central back to an offense than Jamal Williams. I think Jamal Williams is strictly the goal line and first, maybe not even second down back in New Orleans to start. He's old reliable, but nothing fancy. Um, I think that if Kendrick Miller shows off, then I think that you're talking about a split backfield with like him and Kamara when he comes back.
All right. So sorry about my lighting situation. Um, but the last guy I have, and then I'll cover. Yeah, this last guy I have, Jet McKinnon, um, pass catcher for the Chiefs. He was phenomenal at the end of the year last year, and he is going in the useless RB territory. So
He's too good to
I
be
am
talking about where
all
we're
good
at.
with grabbing him.
I love Jarek McKinnon as well. He's
Yes,
too good to be
absolutely.
talking here, guys. Pick him up in the ninth with all those other good guys we talked about in the ninth. The last guy I
Yep.
have, like the last pick of the draft type of guy, Kenneth Gainwell. For the exact same reason we don't like Rashad Penny, I think he will give you Rashad Penny value, just with the very last pick of your draft. Rashad Penny, DeAndre Swift, both of them are injury prone. Kenneth Gainwell could certainly give you a shot. That's it. Yeah, just with the last pick, why not?
All right. So with that and my lighting
You
situation,
got a flashlight?
we're gonna call that the show. I do have a flashlight, but there's no point in doing that. Thank you guys for listening. I kind of look like I'm telling a ghost story. Again, sorry about the lighting situation, and thank you. Hopefully, we can help you win your fantasy league.
If you guys want to see a real ghost story, you should see my brother Andrew's family team in our league. Just
Insult one
kidding.
of our
He's not
listeners.
watching.
Great job.